You know, when the PlayStation 4 Pro came out, I think none of us really knew what to expect, right? Like, I know for myself, I wasn't sure what to expect. Like, I wasn't really too keen on the idea that we would be able to have, like, consoles be in the same kind of situation as the, you know, cell phone market, right? Where, you know, they come out with a new phone every year or whatever. It's just like, you know, so people, the cell phones are like people's lifelines these days, and by comparison, that with like consoles, which is like a luxury item, I just feel it's two different things. And most people aren't paying out of pocket for the cell phone, you know, whereas when you buy a console, I think the majority of people are paying, you know, like right out of pocket. And so that is exactly why I look at this and I go, okay, well, it's a completely different circumstance. It's a completely different situation, and, you know, they should never be considered one and the same. And I feel 100% honest about that. You know, I feel like that's the way that it should be. You know, like, I don't think that would be a smart thing. And now we get into this generation, and only Sony is doing the mid-gen refresh. And I feel like that is something that obviously they feel strongly about, but it doesn't look like it's selling out, you know, so we'll see. But this should be an interesting video nonetheless. I can't wait to get into it. What's up, everybody? Crap Gamer here with Crap Gamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I certainly appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Please like, share, and subscribe, and, you know, that would be something that would be amazing. I'm looking at, you know, the channel's growing a little bit here and there. I'm very appreciative of that. If you guys could continue to like the videos and share it out. Now, with that being said, this was interesting. So this was something that I felt like the you know, the situation with the PS5 Pro, you know, it didn't sell out. People are trying to look at that as some kind of huge negative or whatever. I don't necessarily look at it that way, but, you know, some people do. So, you know, we'll see how that kind of works out, and if that's the case. But at least the tech experts at Digital Foundry are kind of looking at something a little bit differently than how we're looking at it. You know, everyone's kind of got an opinion on the PS5 Pro, whether they're optimistic about it or irritated by the $700 price point. But there's an interesting analysis piece published by Digital Foundry, which argues the supercharged system could lay the foundations for the PS6, which, you know, I think that would be a pretty safe bet to kind of do things anyway. So the thoughts on the recent state of play, I think, are, you either think one thing or the other when it comes to those things. But anyway, many believe with some justification that the PS5 Pro is a step too far and that such a console isn't needed. In fact, Digital Foundry made the argument themselves, but looking back at the piece, they kind of warned about higher price points and, you know, and the higher cost of a Pro this gen, and also looked at the potential improvements that it could bring, all of which have come to pass with PS5 Pro. Microsoft, of course, declined the opportunity to follow likewise, but now we have some idea why Sony has taken a different route, and perhaps more strategy is now understandable. Before that, though, they wanted to highlight that, and I'm going to link this so you guys can check it out in the description. If you're invested in the PlayStation platform, if you're going to skip the Pro but will likely get a PS6, the arrival of an enhanced machine is very likely good news for you. So, you know, if you go back to the launch of the Series X and PlayStation 5, you know, a fundamental aspect of the appeal was the fact that your existing library of games would carry forward to the new hardware. Microsoft made their plans very clear to fans, but the message from PlayStation was confusing, and yet ultimately the PS5 back compat worked almost as well as Xbox's equivalent. The continuity in game libraries from one generation to the next made the idea that, you know, switching platforms was kind of a difficult sell. You know, we lost the worst generation, according to Phil Spencer, which is the Xbox One generation where everybody built their digital library. I see lots of pundits out there who want to go back in time when we all had cartridges and discs and every generation was a clean slate and you could switch the whole console share, but that's just not the world we're in today. Another point of commonality between PS5 and Xbox Series X was that the backwards compatibility prioritized support for their mid-gen console upgrades. PS5 ran PS4 Pro games, while Series X opted for the Xbox One X code path. At a stroke, owners of the new consoles designed for 4K displays had access to great-looking software that often presented with very impressive upgrades over the base equivalents. Not only that, the extra horsepower of the new hardware was brought to bear on those older games, more stable performance and increased quality in games with dynamic resolution scaling and unlocked frame rates. One can imagine that the same thing will happen again with the PS6. It will all take of the upgrades from the PS5 Pro and offer the same kind of cumulative improvements. While we could hope so, the idea really does rely somewhat on a robust form of backwards compatibility that allows for all the power of the new machine to be developed on old games. So taking a look at the PS5 Pro's game boost for older titles is going to be indicative of whether or not this is possible. If you're not wondering why there's doubt there, PS4 Pro's boost mode was only a small improvement, while PS5 mirrored certain elements of the Pro's architecture, which many have kind of, may have enhanced performance as well as made it easier to attain. So the PlayStation 5 Pro does not have as many commonalities. First order of business will be Elden Ring, which they did unlocked frame rates across all modes. If the boosts are in line with 45% increase, it makes the chances of future PlayStation hardware being able to do so more likewise viable. So basically, the PS5 Pro has demonstrated that the opportunities to increase console performance and features by simply producing faster, more complex CPUs and GPUs is now over. For a $100 price premium, Sony doubled the size of the PS4 GPU and making the PS4 Pro. Today with PS5 Pro, a $250 premium over the equivalent digital base model cannot do the same. Sony is achieving similar, if not outright superior results by adding machine learning silicon and amplifying graphics via AI hardware. So this is something that we kind of have to keep in mind going forward as well. Sony is obviously not alone in their endeavors, as the Switch 2 is going to ship sometime in 2025 with ray tracing and machine learning silicon in its processor. And unlike Sony, Nintendo has the benefit of tapping into NVIDIA's existing technologies. And then there's Microsoft. Of course, we all heard Sarah Bond talk about Generation 10, the biggest technological leap ever, and good money on referring to machine-based learning technologies as opposed to wallet-busting gigantic class GPUs. So again, I think we're caught in this whole thing where people are thinking maybe next-gen hardware might be like super expensive or whatever. I still think we're going to get consoles between $499 and $599. It's just because the stuff like the AI and the machine learning and stuff is going to definitely be something that we as fans are going to be able to look into and go, okay, well, that this is going to help keep costs down and things like that. I don't think people fully realize that that's the case, and that's what those things are for. So Sony introducing that stuff in a Pro is really going to help the long run of the next generation and things like that. So I think we will probably see some pretty cool things coming out in the future from both the PlayStation 6 and as well as the next Xbox or whatever the case may be. I do feel like Microsoft obviously they kind of have to mean what they say when they think about this stuff and they talk about it, but at the same time, are Xbox fans going to care at that particular point? I think that's something that we have to look at as fans. Did Microsoft already lose so many of the Xbox fans that nobody will care about it? I think that's realistically sort of where we're at with this whole situation. But when you do look at how Sony has done things with the Pro, you could argue that they've done things in a very intelligent way. Just because they've been able to get people excited about the future of the platform itself, and that's something that you can't really take for granted, because people do get excited about change. And does that mean that we'll always see some type of huge jump like that? Like people, when they say, oh, huge jump, I kind of am a little bit hesitant to believe into that, because I think it's hard to see that huge jump. When we're looking at games now, do they look that much better or play that much better than what we got last gen? It's like, really, I would say not. But good for them. It's hard to believe that they're outdoing Microsoft with this machine learning and AI stuff, especially since that's what Microsoft does. They're well into, the AI stuff and all that kind of stuff. So very interesting that they weren't the first to market with this stuff. They'll actually be last because of the Switch 2. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Rack them up, fact them up, crap gamer them up, crap gamer out.